Not all labor is rewarded with a paycheck. For the people you're about to meet, hard work makes for some fantastic homemade beers. On this episode of Brewed. We're here in the barrel room of the Mississippi River Distilling Company, and I know what you're asking. Has there been some sort of format change? I thought the show was called Brewed. Oh no, you're watching the right show. But we are joined by Schaar, who is one of the, you're a big deal in the home brewing community.
Well, I'm big.
You're a big guy, but you have won national awards.
Yeah.
The Home Brewers Conference in Minnesota, you just won a big damn deal award.
Yeah, I won National Mead Maker of the Year.
Mead Maker of the Year in the entire country. No one makes mead better than you.
Well, that's what the judges on that day thought.
I also know from doing my homework and reading your bio, you have won the Iowa Home Brewer of the Year. More than once?
Twice.
Twice.
Yep.
So you're someone who makes spirits for a living and makes beer for fun. Is that a safe characterization?
Yeah. Actually, my wife and I, Karen and I, both started homebrewing in about 2000.
Okay.
Started out with a little pot on the kitchen stove. Now I have a multi-vessel recirculating mash system. Just kept kind of growing and growing. Kind of once the bug bit me, we just 100 miles an hour straight forward after
So you
that.
start right around the turn of the century.
Yes, we both became certified judges. So we go around and judge other competitions. So then you really get to learn what's a good beer and what's not a
How
good beer.
does
and
one
the flaws.
become a certified beer
There's a lot of
judge?
studying involved, and you have to drink a lot of beer. It's
Right.
awful.
This
It's
is
absolutely
this
awful.
is the part where he wants to make it sound like it's hard, so everybody doesn't run out. And
It's
try
the
and
worst
do it.
homework ever when
Right.
you have like 10 different beers in front of you, and you have to determine what's the good one and which one isn't.
Well, in order, but there is. We're kidding, but you do have to know what
Absolutely.
to look for in terms
Absolutely.
of things that have gone wrong.
And just not what's wrong with it, why it went wrong.
Right.
Which, in learning that, I think really helps you become a better brewer yourself.
Mead. That's something
Fermented honey.
people are starting to get into.
It
Mead
is.
is basically one of the first things that we as humans ever came up with,
Yeah.
right? There's recipes in like Pharaoh's
Yeah.
tombs.
If you left honey laying in an empty log and rain got on it, it would ferment naturally.
Isn't that the story
into
that's
mead.
how
Yeah.
it got discovered?
Yeah, basically.
Like somebody saw
Somebody
a wet
drank that
beehive and drank it and was like,
thought, hey, I like the effects of this.
That ain't
and
bad.
Kept going, but
so fermented honey. What's your
Yes.
secret? Is it local honey?
I use some local honey mostly. There's some other varieties, because there are different varieties of honey, just like there is different grapes.
Okay.
Then you get different flavors from it.
From different bees? Or?
Well, depending on what the bees pollinate on and what they eat.
I see.
Like orange blossom honey, like from an orange grove, tastes much different than any honey we would get here.
And that has a major effect on the mead.
It does.
All right.
It does. And
Now-
it just depends on the flavor profile you're going from.
I don't know a lot about mead. I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping to learn more. You're the guy to learn from. Mead Maker of the Year. It packs a wallop, doesn't it? What's the ABV on something like that?
Typically the ones I make are about 14%. I usually try to keep them, well, think of it more like you're not going to pound it like you would, a low ABV beer. It's more like a glass of wine.
Sure.
It's, I equate it more to wine than I do beer.
Is that where the term getting buzzed comes from?
It could possibly be.
From the mead and the honey and the
It is
bees?
where the term honeymoon came from.
Really?
Because you were supposed to drink some mead for the first month or the first moon, and that was supposed to help fertility and help you ensure a boy child.
Well, it couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Why not? So Mead Maker of the Year,
Mm-hmm.
Beer Maker of the Year, what kind of beers do you like to make? What styles are you
I
into?
like most styles of beer.
Mm-hmm.
My quest right now is to perfect the Czech Pilsner.
Yes.
I think that's one of my favorite beers, and it's one of the hardest beers to make.
Why is
there's-
that? Because it's
there's-
not that complicated, right?
Well, but there's also no place to hide anything.
Right, you
It's a
can't-
very simple beer. It's not, you have a big stout with big alcohol and all these dark roasts, you can hide some flaws in
You
there.
can mask the
A
imperfections.
light Pilsner where there's not a lot of hop character, there's not a lot of malt character. It's really simple. There's no place to hide.
You make beer for fun,
Mm-hmm.
but your 9-to-5 job is making spirits.
It is.
Is there any similarities between making...
There's a lot of similarities up until the part where you distill it. You're still mashing the grains, you're still fermenting the grains. One of the differences is we just use an industrial distiller's yeast. We're not picking a yeast strain that tries to give us a certain flavor profile.
Right.
We're just looking to get all the alcohol we can out of it.
Right on.
Yeah.
I think that's a noble pursuit.
Yeah.
The barrels that we're surrounded by, I know some of these barrels are used by local craft breweries.
A lot of them are. When we get done with the barrel, by law, bourbon has to be aged in a new barrel every time.
Okay.
So we can't reuse the barrels.
No kidding.
We have a waiting list of breweries wanting them.
Right.
Pretty much every local brewery around here has done a barrel.
And not only here in town, I know all over eastern Iowa,
Right,
I've
yeah.
seen
Yeah.
these barrels. I can't think of any place that we've been on the show that hasn't used your barrels for barrel aging.
Yeah.
Now you do some barrel aging with your home
I do.
brew. And
I have access to barrels.
I was gonna say you've kind of got a hookup, so that
I
doesn't
do.
seem fair.
I know a guy.
How long do you barrel age for?
Mine are usually, I've done like 6 to 7 months typically.
And the barrel aging, not only do you get that wonderful wood character, but it also ramps up the ABV.
Not a lot, but a little bit.
Why would it do that? Just the length of time it spends?
It draws some of the whiskey into the.
So there's a
and
little
there's a
bit
little
of
whiskey in
whiskey.
it. It's not going to change your ABV a lot.
Right.
It gives the perception of it because you're tasting bourbon.
Right.
So your mind goes to higher
That's
alcohol.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you've won national awards, and I am not in any way certified to judge beer. But what I am is an enthusiastic young man with a love for craft beer, and I was wondering if maybe we could sample some of your wares.
We can. We have some.
Let's make that happen.
Right.
Well, you brought enough for the whole class, which is
I did.
good to see.
I want to be the teacher's pet.
Scott, what do we have here?
Start out, I kind of, shortly after home brewing, I kind of figured out I have all this equipment that translates into other things other than just beer, so why have just beer at home? So start out, this one here, we've got it's a Seville Orange Sangria, kind of a light red wine with some other fruits in it.
Okay.
But do it in the same fermenters that I have for the beer, so you can try that one.
I don't know the first thing about wine, but... Oh, wow.
But you'd want to drink that sitting outside on the patio.
I like the way
Like
you
all
think.
day.
Yeah, or in a barrel room.
Yeah.
Drink this just about anywhere.
That works
That's
too.
That's good stuff.
The one in front of it here is a cider.
Cider?
From a local apple orchard, but I also added some honey to it just to boost the alcohol just a little bit. So
I
it's
like
got
the
a
way
little
you
more
think.
of a kick to it.
All right. Oh, that is smooth.
Yeah. But that's probably a 12% alcohol cider. You don't realize until you stand up and
No.
your knees buckle.
I was going to say, that's delicious.
And then this beer here, the American Homebrewers Association in May always has Big Brew Day, they call it.
Big Brew Day.
So 3 years in a row, I brewed 24 hours straight at home, brewed enough to fill one of these barrels, and then we bottled some up and gave it to our bottling volunteers.
Okay.
So this is one of those. This is an English barley wine that was aged in a bourbon barrel for like 7, 8 months.
No kidding. Oh,
That's a big boy.
that is, what's the ABV on this?
Oh, 11.
It's cool. I got Uber on speed dial. And then,
This last one,
you don't call Uber. What am I doing?
this last one is a mead.
mead.
This is
This is the mead that won you the
this is
national
not.
acclaim.
This is not. I'm out of that one.
Oh, well,
But this
understandably.
one actually has won me more acclaim. This is mesquite honey, roasted pineapples, and chipotle peppers.
So the mesquite honey means that the bees were
Pollinated on the mesquite plant, so it's kind of a woody character to it.
Okay.
But this mead entered it in some competitions, and Prairie Rose Meadery in Fargo, North Dakota, and Moonlight Meadery in New Hampshire both made this recipe.
No kidding.
So I got to fly out to both those places and make this mead with them.
No kidding.
So that was kind of fun.
Oh boy.
But you get that fruit, and then that little bit of
Yeah, no,
little
it's
bit
like,
of heat comes in on the
no,
tail
the
end.
heat's
of it.
right at the end. So yeah, it's like this fruity masterpiece, and then kind of like a flame out at the end. That is interesting. So you make incredible wine, you make great beer, you win national awards for your mead, and then when you're done with your hobby,
I go make whiskey.
you come here to work
It's-
and you make whiskey.
Someone's got to do it.
You are a man of many talents,
Thank you.
Scott, and I thank you for sharing them with us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. Coming up on Brewed, Basement Brews, a Rock Island brewer turning out great tastes on his new state-of-the-art system.